Hi, everyone. Welcome to All Things Metaphysical podcast with Kellie and Gail. This is episode 31.
Yay!
We've done 31 podcasts now. It's hard to believe. I remember doing the first one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so much has changed, and yet so much has stayed the same in the world that we currently live in, and so much has gotten worse.
And I think that's going to continue for a little while longer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the last probably 3 years when all of this started have been really trying for a lot of people. And I think as a society, we've just gone down the rabbit hole with seeing how many things we can destroy while we're still here. And it's time to turn that around, guys. We need to come back up out of the dirt and try again. Um,
It's almost
but
like we've been planted for 3 years, and now we have to bloom again.
yeah, yeah, it's been, I've had so many things going on in my own life. I don't remember last year.
Mm-hmm.
I barely remember 2020. That's how chaotic things have been. And I thought it was just me, but the more people I talk to, the more I hear, no, it isn't just me. It's
Yeah.
it's everyone. It's something we've all gone through
Mm-hmm.
um, together, for better or worse.
Well, we
Uh,
all signed up to be here at this time to go through this, so
yeah.
it makes it that much more interesting.
Interesting's a good word. We'll go with interesting.
I
It's
don't know what else to call it. I don't know about anybody else, and I'm a pretty even keel person these days. It really takes a lot to make me angry these days, but there have been just so many interesting things that have happened that I've just like gotten so angry. And it's like, is it mine? Is it the world? Who does the anger belong to? Why am I so angry? Because
yeah,
I don't swear much at all anymore. But oh my God, the last 2 days.
yeah, and it's been everyone. I had a weird thing which about with an insurance company yesterday, and it's like, how in the bloody hell did that even happen?
Mhm.
And it's just a series of weirdness with almost everyone I know. People are having just strange things. A friend of mine is she had $1,500,000 deposited into her bank overnight. Not her money. She's like, "What do I do?" I'm like, "Call the bank. You don't want any part of this. You do not want to do this." And she called them and they have no explanation.
Mhm.
Somehow overnight, she had this enormous deposit in her bank, which of course is not there anymore because it wasn't her money. But they have no explanation for how it happened. Now, wouldn't you think they'd want to look into it?
Mhm.
But she said they blew it off like it happens every day. Well, maybe it was. Maybe that's part of the problem. I don't know. But it's everyone is having weirdness.
Yeah. It's just, again, comes back to that word interesting. It's just really interesting. It's what do you do with all the wacky things, since that seems to be one of our favorite words? What do you do with all the wacky things that are going on right now? Because at some point, it's just overload.
It gets very overwhelming
Yeah.
for a lot of people. And I like to think, because I've been on this path for a long time, that I can recognize things when they're happening.
Hmm.
But that's not always the case. Sometimes we get so overwhelmed and bogged down in the collective that we don't realize what's happening to us.
Hmm.
And, it's like you said, I was out of sorts for days before yesterday. And you pointed out, well, that's because I knew this was coming.
Hmm.
Well, I didn't realize it was coming. But in hindsight, which is always 2020, it's like that is exactly why. Because I was kind of subconsciously preparing for this event that I didn't even know existed.
Hmm.
But I think that's why so many empaths are just angry
Hmm.
lately.
Well,
It's stuff.
I realize that when I get emails from certain people, I feel the energy and everything that they're going through, and I forget that that happens. So I know part of my reaction today was from the email I got from one of those people, and I just had this wave of like anxiety and fear go over me, and I'm like, I was fine like
Right.
half an hour ago. What happened?
Yeah.
So I was talking to someone else. I'm like, oh yeah, I opened an email from this person, and sure enough. And so then I had to clear myself. And I think that it's really important that we work on clearing ourselves frequently.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that one of my mentors years and years ago taught me is to sit and meditate
Mhm.
and consciously go through your body. Not mine. Oh, not mine. Oh, not mine either. And literally pull it out. And, I don't do that as often as I should. But after events of yesterday, I did that this morning. I'm like, whoa, I feel so much lighter. It's just amazing what we don't realize we're holding on to.
And one of the ways that I learned how to do it in the class was to picture a violet colored tornado going around you counterclockwise, and whatever isn't yours gets sucked out by the violet colored tornado. I didn't like that imagery. So I stand under, and I practice every day when I'm in the shower. I stand under a violet color
Yep,
waterfall,
yep,
and then the
that works.
water just gently. So, like, after I should have done that today after I opened that email, but sometimes we know what we need to do, we forget.
Or we just don't.
I remember
Later. I'll do it later. Yeah.
I had surgery and I wasn't doing well because I don't do well with the medications and I was completely out of it. Like, had I been able to be conscious, I'm like, oh, wait, I create healing pictures. I could just use some of those. So, like, day 7, someone pointed out to me, why don't you use one of the mandalas you've created for this? I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. When I had a big, huge, horrific, nearly died on the operating table surgery once. And after surgery, one of the nurses came in.
Mhm,
And now, mind you, I've been a Reiki master since the 80s.
mhm,
This happened in the early 2000s.
okay.
One of the nurses came in and she said, aren't you a Reiki master? Why are you not doing energy healing on yourself?
Mhm.
Oh,
I'll
oh,
never forget my dad was having a surgery while he, of course, was still alive, and he was petrified. So I asked for a piece of paper while I was waiting in his room, and I sketched out this mandala really quick with angels and blah, blah, blah. And he took it and he put it under his hospital gown, like under his stomach. And it was so funny because every single person he came into contact with took care of that picture to the point where when he got brought up to his room where he was gonna stay for a couple days, it was under his pillow. So then
aw,
he says to me, "Well, it's because of your picture I almost died." His blood sugar dropped to, like, 30 or something like that, and they had to come rushing in. I'm like, "It's no," I said, "No, it's because of that picture that you're still alive."
yeah,
So,
yeah,
it's just but you forget about the power of all those things. I know I just created a mandala yesterday with dolphins and a kind of tricked out flower of life. And I'm just like, there's just something so serene about that picture, though.
there is. There, I love that one. I really love that one. But I do a lot with pink dolphins in general. So, yeah.
And I don't draw as often as I used to because I've just been so busy doing other things and getting frustrated by my other job. So but maybe I just need to start doing that more because I know in 2020 I drew almost a picture a day. I mean, at the end of the year, maybe not, maybe a picture every 2 days, but I had over 100 and some pictures for the year.
Yeah, you probably should go back to drawing more. Not only for yourself, although that's really the main reason you should be drawing them, but because of what it puts out into the world.
Mm.
Because what you draw is so special. And you can just go into those pictures and believe me, I have. And you're calm and you're peaceful and you feel loved and cared for. And whatever the picture is supposed to be about, that is exactly where it takes you.
Mhm.
So I think they're divinely important that you do them. Um, that's, I have a lot of them on my walls, and I've had people come into my house and go, whoa, and it's just the energy,
Mhm,
that comes through. And it's really interesting. Some people that I've had to extricate from my life
mhm.
have been afraid of them. They'll come in and go, whoa, what's that? I don't like that. And other people are like drawn in. It's like, I must know more. What is this? But
I guess that's a good way to tell if people are playing with the light or not.
yeah, and the fact that I generally see what is accompanying them, yeah,
Uh-huh.
that helps too. Yeah.
So,
And
one of the things that we talked a little bit about before the show today, and it's not something that we do often, and it's something that we probably need to do more of, is kind of promote ourselves a little bit. Like, I know for both of us, our goal is more to serve humanity,
yeah,
but we are also part of humanity.
yeah.
So, why don't you tell people where they can find you and what kind of services that you can provide for people? And then you can ask me the same fun questions.
I the easiest way to find me is on Facebook, oddly enough. I used to be everywhere. I had multiple websites and all this, and I found that it just wasn't doing what I wanted them to do. So I kind of took all that down and went back to basics. So I'm on Facebook. I do readings.
Mhm.
I see dead people. I think most of us do. And I am a Reiki master. So I do a lot of energy healing, not only with Reiki, but with what other people have described as my own personal brand of healing energy. I sort of became a Reiki master and then almost immediately discarded all the rules and made up my own.
I don't, if I had to describe you, I would describe it as shamanistic Reiki healing.
Yeah. Yeah. I have very, very, very close ties
Mhm.
to Native American on a number of, not only North America, but Canada and Mexico, Central America. I'm very, very connected that way. Yeah.
So what,
So,
so is your Facebook account just your name? Is that
yeah,
how people would
it
find?
is. Hang on a second. I will tell you what it is. It is actually, I changed it.
Okay.
Energy healer and reader,
Okay.
Kellie Fitzgerald. And Kellie's with an IE because my mother was creative.
Okay.
That's what passed for creativity in 1961.
That's true though. Yeah.
It is true. Yeah. So, what about you? Where can people find you? Because people need to find you.
So I have lots of places because I apparently am all over social media right now. So you can find me at my website, which is gail-alexander.com. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok, and that's at No Nonsense Intuitive. And I think my Twitter is joyful underscore mystic. And
Yeah.
then my Facebook page is No Nonsense Intuitive as well, because I decided that that's what I am. I am the no nonsense. I don't believe in a lot of fluff. I believe in just giving information as it comes through. And people always say to me so I do readings, coaching, create custom mandalas for people, speaking engagements. I've taught classes. I've done a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
My favorite though is I love doing readings, but
Hmm.
everyone's like, "I'm gonna book an hour," and I'm like, "Really? An hour? Okay." 'Cause it comes through so fast. I usually like, a half an hour is really good if you wanna book a reading with me.
Yeah.
Also see dead people, and as connected as you are to, like, shaman tendencies, I'm probably connected to the cosmos that way.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
am definitely a multidimensional communicator,
Yeah.
more so
Definitely.
than being grounded in earth energies.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, that was my lesson this time around was I've always been up here. They want me down here now.
I think that sometimes we get new people who come in and we don't talk about ourselves or promote ourselves all that often because we've really tried to make this about other people. And at the same time, I think we need to do that more just because,
We do. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you've written several books, I've written several books. Speaking engagements are fun.
Yep.
Eventually we'll do more things with that. We're trying to organize that right now. So, just lots of projects that are open ended right now. It's just kind of fun to think about all the different possibilities.
Yeah, and that old thing on Facebook that I see, like, I don't know, at least 4 times a week,
Mhm.
that if it is your calling, it'll keep calling you. Sometimes I just wanna say, "No, shut up, stop calling me." But yeah, we do definitely need to, do some events. I missed that. Prior to COVID, I would do a lot of, events, book
Mhm.
signings, or classes, workshops, that kind of thing. And I've realized lately that I really, really miss doing that.
Mhm.
I miss that connection. It's great online. We'll do some online stuff. That's awesome. But to be in person,
Mhm.
with people who are wanting to learn, wanting to receive messages, that is just the best. That is the best.
I don't know though, being in person and live, I'm gonna miss all the orbs that fly over my head during.
You know what? They'll follow you. I had someone tell me, it was a couple weeks ago now, a random person, never seen them before. It happens to me often. I
Mhm.
live in a very, very tiny community. We know everybody. Everybody knows everybody. I am the one that will run into random strangers that
Mhm.
stop through town. And I was at the food bank, what was last Friday? Um, and this lady comes up to me and she leaned over like she was whispering in my ear and she says, "I don't mean to scare you, but do you know you have a dead cat wrapping itself around your legs?" "Yes, ma'am, I feel the cat." Yeah. Believe me, I know she's there.
Uh-huh.
And she went, "Oh, okay." And then she says, "Do you have any melons? I really must go now." And she disappeared. She was like nowhere. And I'm looking around because I talked to the guy that was at the melon table. She was not there. She was gone. I don't know if she never existed, if I was the only one that saw her, but she was there and then she was gone. And she came long enough to tell me that my cat was still there. And, that cat has been with me for 30 years now. So, yes, I am aware. But random things like that happen to me every time I leave my house. And sometimes I don't even have to leave my house. It's just, I used to try to ignore it. And I find the older I get and the more people that I have tried desperately to bring into my world disappoint me and hurt me and stab me in the back, the more I really don't care because I've realized that the right people will find you,
Mhm.
even if they've been dead for 20 or 30 years.
It's funny you were talking about how random people show up. I blow light fixtures. I remember I was in my office and because I now work from home, but when I was in my office, we had sensors and mine blew. They're like, these aren't supposed to blow. How is this possible? They had to put an old fashioned light switch in because they kept trying to put a new sensor in and it kept blowing.
Yep.
And I'm like, welcome to my world.
Yeah, I can't use dimmers because they blow out. It has to be a regular light switch. But when this house was being built, they would do something with the electrical. I would walk through the house to check things out. I would leave. They'd have to redo what they just did with it. And it was like, don't come in here until after we're gone for the day because it would happen so often.
Yeah, and that's because of the frequency and the vibration and the energy that's running through you. It's not
Yeah.
always congruent. So it's really important to learn how to. I don't do it as often anymore, but it's just interesting. I know when I rented a townhouse, they had to fix I needed a new thermostat because that blew, the furnace blew. The guy probably hated me because he had to replace everything, like,
Yep.
because I kept blowing all of the stuff, and for me, I can't use Windows computers because after about 6 months, I blow them out.
Yeah, when computers were new,
Yeah.
I was working in a technology capacity because we were developing, an old partner and I were developing a portable digital recording gear. And I would blow things. It was like we had to buy extra motherboards, we had to buy extra everything because if I was around it,
Mhm.
it would blow up.
I
And it was just it was the running joke. In the recording studio, we were testing things in. It was like, uh-oh, unplug everything. It's about to blow. Here she is.
When touchscreen phones first came out, I had a Samsung phone, and I had to keep going. I think I had Sprint at the time. It took 4 phones for them to get one that worked with me, and same phone, but it took 4 they had to keep giving me a new one. They're like, "What are you doing to this phone?" And
Yeah,
then I had a ring on one day, and the whole ring cracked down the whole side of the band, and I took it back to the jeweler, and she's like, "Um, that's not supposed to happen."
I have to tell you, um, my ex and I, we had custom wedding bands made. Um, Mine broke 7 times.
That should have been a clue.
The stones would pop out. The band would break down horizontally around, so it would come apart in half. All kinds of weird things happened to my ring. And I kept going, well, that's a sign. Then I would ignore it. Oh, well, that's a sign. About the fifth or sixth time, my daughter said, Mom, what are you doing? But
Hmm.
the universe is always talking to us. I don't want to hear that. Go away. It's funny. But how do you make them go away? You know, um, when I was a kid, I had a big problem with that. Dead people would know I could talk to them
Mhm.
and they would know that I saw them. So they were like following me. I had like a long line of dead people following me everywhere I went. Um, and then I just learned to, okay, here's the light, go into the light. Okay, here you go. You
I
know,
have that now with all the people who are dying in the world. I have a line of people that I've been helping transition.
yeah,
Mm.
but it's when it's something other than a human or an animal entity. When I say human, understand who I am. I am including all of the animals on the planet when I say human. Just as a rule, general rule, they're people to me. Um, but sometimes we get things coming through that are not human, never were animals. And I'm finding lately more and more and more young people are asking me what to do about shadow people
Mhm.
or moving into a new house, going into the base. It's always the basement. Why aren't they ever in the living room relaxing on an easy chair? No, they go down in the basement and come literally face to face in one case with something that it was demonic. I know it was, but it's happening to more and more kids. So my first question is that happening as a general rule in this big, good versus evil world that we live in? Is that just kind of a consequence of that we're all going through? Or is it that more and more kids are being born wide awake?
I think both are true. I think more and more kids, I mean, like if you look back to the 80s, 90s, 2000s, there was the indigos, the rainbow, and the crystal kids.
Hmm.
So now we probably have the multidimensional kids that you're not really hearing about it. The second part is the veil's also lifting. So people
Right.
are seeing more and more things. So I think both are true. I think kids are coming in wired very differently, and we keep expecting them to fit into the old paradigm of how we did things, and that's not how it works. And there is really no veil anymore. You can see anything if you really want to see it.
Even if you don't sometimes. it's um it's concerning for a number of reasons, because a lot of the kids that talk to me, I know who they are, I know their parents, I know what the situation is, I know how to help them. But how many more kids are seeing the same things and don't have a place to turn,
Mhm.
don't have anyone they can talk to about it, don't have a clue what to do with it. If a shadow figure says, hey, do you want to play? A lot of kids would say, yes, I do, sure. And then that's a very, very dark road that they're taking on. So I have spent a lot of time recently um, meditating on helping these kids not go down a dark path, because my own personal opinion is that this is coming straight from the darkest dark, and we're going to try to convert as many kids and as possible so that they can grow up and always be ours, rather than you know letting them figure it out. I think a lot of people are being controlled, and I have seen entities following people around for years, and it's like, you don't know that's happening to you, you can't figure out why this is happening to you. But people they don't know. So what do you think? Do you think it's happening more often, or do you think it's just the way it's always
No, I don't think it's necessarily happening more often. I think we live in a society where people can ask those kinds of questions now. Before, people just used to bury everything and not talk about it, or were too afraid to talk about it. And I think now we're at a place where you can actually talk about those things. So, again, I don't think it's an either or. I think it's an and situation.
yeah.
It may be happening more, and kids feel freer to talk about it now.
Really, that's the best possible thing.
I didn't sound too much like a therapist there, did I?
No, no.
Sometimes it just sneaks in,
I
can't.
know. I know when I was a kid, there were a few older people I could talk to, but you learn really quickly who you can talk to and who you can't talk to. So maybe there's just more adults that will listen to kids talking too. So,
Well, I mean, just think about, just like if we use the term Reiki. 10 years ago, no one hardly knew what Reiki is. Now that word is used in TV shows, on the news, and. So, I mean, if you look at it that way, we've moved forward so fast that just some things haven't caught up yet.
well, where I live, most people still agree that it's 1955. So I'm not sure that this is the best area to judge anything by. But still, even here, and that's really my point, even here, we've got kids that are talking about these things. So maybe, in a more populated, more progressive area, they're talking more.
Well,
Um,
they said to talk about this, so here we go. So, there is a grid of the earth where you can connect to people, right? Everyone is connected on the grid. These kids who are coming in know how to do that, so they know how to find each other. And so, even though they might not be getting conscious support, they're all supporting each other through the grid.
right. Yeah.
So, there you go.
And every once in a while, if I'm having a particularly open day, I see that grid.
I always think about it like the scene from X-Men where he puts his little helmet on and then he can see like all the mutants light up. That's how I always see the grid is I see everyone light up on it and different people are different colors for various reasons. I'm not going to go into that, but yeah, so you can find anybody on the grid.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really think that's how soul tribes are reconnecting.
Hmm.
I know not one person that is closest to me lives within 1,000 miles of me. And that was not possible
Hmm.
prior to, technology catching up. And yet, there are things that I did as a child that when I read about it, my grandmother kept diaries, and I have them. So every once in a while, when I'm feeling particularly melancholy, I'll go get out my box of her journals. And in one of them, she said, I don't know what's wrong with this kid. She's sitting in the middle of the floor, cross legged, saying she's trying to find her friend Jody. She knows she's on this planet. What in the world is wrong with this kid?
Was
And
that you?
yeah, and I was 4. And at 4 years old, I knew at least one member of my soul tribe was on this planet. And, maybe I was just ahead of myself. I don't know. But I found it interesting when I read that. I reread it like a dozen times. Did I really read that? Did
Mhm.
I really read? Because I don't remember that, but it's interesting. But even before technology made it easier, we still found each other.
Yeah, I had a friend that we grew up probably like 50 miles apart, and we didn't connect till later in life. We were in our 30s when we connected, but we both knew about each other when we were little.
Yeah, yeah. I lived in San Francisco, and I was walking through Golden Gate Park, and there was a woman coming the opposite way. We were both walking dogs. The dogs looked very similar. It was very strange. We had on the same t-shirt, and she stopped in front of me, and I went, I know you. And she says, we've been friends for eternity. Where have you been?
Mhm.
And then we kept on walking. And I still don't know what her name was. I That was our one and only connection, but it was really weird. It was just very strange.
I know that we've talked about how we knew each other when we were younger for various reasons.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting, like that you don't remember that stuff when you're little, but then when you meet the people, and everyone has that feeling when you meet someone, it's like, oh, I feel like I've known you forever. Well, you
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
That's why you feel that way. They're just in a different form
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But you've been with that energy before.
Yeah. And in my case, a lot of the people in my life this time that have caused me a great degree of pain have been people that immediately when I met them, I went, ooh, I know who you are and I don't want to know you again. And yet they stayed around my life. And I've often wondered what would have happened had I just said, nope, and turned around. So it goes both ways. You meet people that you love and care for, and then you meet other people that you're like, I should run right now. Why am I not running right now?
What is the lesson that I need to learn again
Right.
from this person?
And I get it done with over and done with quickly so I can, yeah.
What I
But
say now when I meet those people or I continue to need to be reminded of some things with people, I just say, thank you again for the lesson. I'm glad I learned it faster this time.
hmm yeah,
Thank you for reminding me who you really are.
yeah. It's um it's an interesting time that we're living in.
Mhm.
So much is wide open, and people that know how to navigate it are finding just wonderful things, but there are other people who are either afraid of it or they don't acknowledge its existence, which I think is kind of the same thing.
Mhm.
Um, so we've got like two very, very different groups of humans. There doesn't seem to be many people in the middle.
Mhm.
You're either all in or all out. There's no bridging that gap. And I really think we need to find a way to bridge that gap
Mhm.
because it's time. It's I've had so many people throughout my life that have sworn they don't believe in anything, change their minds just being around me.
Mhm.
And maybe something like that, not me, but maybe something is supposed to happen where we can get these people to realize what's really real.
Well, I think one of the things that you're talking a little bit about is how do we get people to wake up?
Yeah, you can't wake them up. I've tried, believe me, I have.
It's just continuing to provide them information till they make that decision. So,
Yep. Yeah, it's just it kind of hurts my heart a little bit
Mhm.
to know so many people that I know that are refusing to even, crack one eyelid open a little bit and see. And yet they don't understand why things keep repeating. They don't understand that, you know, maybe you're not learning something you should be learning. Um, Even when I have walked up to people, mostly people that I've known for a long time, and I'll tell them, okay, look, so and so is standing behind you, and he wants me to say blah, 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 blah. And they'll tear up and they'll, how did you know that? And they'll completely disregard it. And it's like, okay, I tried. I tried.
What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different response?
Yep. But it's like, I tried,
Mhm.
you know, and
Sometimes, though, it's just planting seeds.
yeah,
Sometimes you're just giving people, like, a little bit of experience, and, you're planting them hoping that they're gonna bloom.
someday, someday we'll get the tiniest of sprouts, you know.
So, I learned a long time ago that you can't change anyone. The only person you can ever change is yourself.
Yeah,
But
you can.
usually, when you change yourself, you end up changing the people around you.
Yeah, you lose a lot of people, which is
Well, and you
fine.
find the people that you're really meant to be with. My
Yeah,
friends have changed a lot over the years. Some have been easier to let go of, some have been harder.
yeah,
And it's just like, as you continue to go down this path, you have a hard time dealing with inauthenticity. And I think that's when you start to lose friends. It's like, I can't talk about this surface stuff anymore. I can't do it. So there's some of my friends who aren't willing to talk about, so I talk to them in smaller doses.
right, right.
So,
Yeah, that sunrise was pretty this morning. Bye bye. And it just, but you learn who those people are that you need to let go of. And one thing I've learned the hard way is when the universe tells you, hey, let go of this person, you really need to let go of that person because otherwise um, they will do something that makes you go, why didn't I let go of that person? You know,
mhm,
um, People in our lives that don't belong there have a way of weeding themselves out.
mhm,
And with me, I make deep connections with people
mhm.
and animals and the casual bird flying by, everything. And it's hard for me. And I know I've had this conversation with other people, and they say it's very hard sometimes. Sometimes you've invested so much of yourself in helping someone, or I literally saved someone's life one time, and it's like instead of being grateful, she still tells people I ruined her life because she lost her kid. I saved you, whatever, but that's one of those people
Mhm.
that I should have let go of even before that event happened. So listen to the universe and don't think you know more because you do not. You do not. And the thing is, the lessons, the repercussions will keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, how many times do you wanna be smacked by the 2 by 4 before you do something
Yep.
with the information? Yeah.
Yep. And that's, a really common thing. I think that if people are sleeping, they don't realize that oh, hey, this has happened before. I need to change course,
Mhm.
and they just keep letting it happen over and over and over. And when you're awake, it's like, oh God, I see that one coming. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn is sometimes you really do have to let go of people because if you don't, they will, throw knives at you.
Mhm.
It, you know, Thankfully, nobody's actually done that to me, but figuratively speaking,
Absolutely.
it's,
Anything else you wanna cover today?
I don't think so. This has kind of been a fun rambling, discussion.
Again, too, if you guys have any topics that you want us to talk about on future shows, reach out to us. Let us know what you want us to cover. We are happy to talk about a variety of different topics.
Yep.
So I guess we will sign off for this one. Everybody have a great week, and we will see you guys all again next week. Take care for now.
Bye.
Bye.